Okay, here's some more examples of the graphing y equals the absolute value of x. Now, we said earlier that if we have y equals the absolute value of x, since this is symmetrical to the y-axis, it's the same thing as y equals the absolute value of negative x, because if we could write this as -1 and the absolute value of -1 is 1, so it doesn't make any difference. But if we have a horizontal shift involved, it may be a little bit misleading what you see, so let's take a look at some examples of these. So here's an example. And on first inspection, you might say, well, this is going to be the same, so I use the opposite sign, so my horizontal shift will be -2, and my vertical shift will be 3. Well, we have to just make sure it's in the right form. And remember, the form is the x's in the front. So we'd have to rewrite this as y equals the absolute value of -x plus 2 plus 3. And remember, we have to have a 1 in front, so we have to factor out that minus sign. So it's going to be y equals the absolute value of negative times x. And if I take a negative out of a plus, I get a -2. Plus 3. So you can see your horizontal shift now is going to be +2, opposite sign. And your vertical shift will be +3. Opposite sign, same sign. So it's a little bit different than we thought. Now my shape equation is just going to be, take out the shift, and it's just going to be y equals, this is my shape equation, y equals the absolute value of -x. And that's the same thing as y equals the absolute value of x. You can make a table of values just to check it. -1, 0, 1 are same old 3 points. If I put -1 here, -1 is +1, absolute +1 is 1, 0. If I put 1 in here, that's -1, but the absolute value of -1 is still 1. So there we go. So I'm going to graph it. And this is in the native form, this is in the adjusted form. My new 0 is going to be 2, 3, so I put my little red dot there. And then 1 to the left, up 1, 0, and 1 to the right, up 1. So there you go. So let's just shift it up like that. Use your pencil, I'm sorry, your straight edge. Make sure you get a nice straight line. So it's got to be straight, so just use a ruler. This is just my staff ID card on the back. I won't show you the front. This is my picture. And there you go. So you got something like that. No problem. Okay, let's take a look at something a little more complicated. So if we have something like this, same idea, we want to get the x in front. So it looks more like our form. Remember our form. If you got your notes, you should have this out all the time. Be looking at this, we want it to look like that. And you can see the x is in the front. Okay. So y equals negative the absolute value of -2x plus 3, carry the signs, plus 4. And again, we want to be able to factor out a 2. All right. So I need to get a number where I can divide a 2 out. So how to do such a thing on that? So 2 doesn't go into 3. So if I make this 6, so read it like this, -2x. And if I multiply the top and the bottom by 2, I've got 6 over 2. Now that's the same thing as 3, so I really haven't changed the value, but 6 is divided by 2, so I can take that out. So now I can rewrite this as y equals negative the absolute value, and then I'm going to take the -2, I'm going to factor that out, so I just have a 1 in front of the x. So I got x. Now if I take out a negative, that becomes a negative out of a positive. You can think of it like if I have a positive like this and I take a negative out, there's just a negative left, you see. Negative. And if I divide 2 into 6, I get 3. So 3 over 2, absolute value, plus 4. Now remember, you always want to check it, because sometimes you can get misled a little bit. All right? So if I multiply this out, I get negative 2x, and there's my negative 2x, and a negative times a negative is a positive, and 2 times 3 over 2 is just 3, so there's my positive 3. So it checks out. Go back and check it out in one of these forms. Okay? So I can see that my shift is going to be like this. So my horizontal shift is right here. That's opposite sign, so it's going to be 3/2. And my vertical shift is here. Same sign, 4. So there's my transformation. 3/2 to the right and up 4. Okay, then my shape equation. Let's get a look at that. Oh, sorry. Off the form here, excuse me. So my shape equation is over here. So again, we divide that 2 out, and we're in good shape. So my shape equation is going to be y equals, and then everything without the shift, so it's going to be absolute negative, oh boy, a lot of negatives, negative times the absolute value of negative 2x. Now these don't, this is not distributed, I mean this is not a parenthesis, so it's not going to be a positive. That's going to be a negative actually, because this will always be positive, and then a negative times a positive is always a negative. So, but you can just try your table of values anyway, just double check. Negative 1, 0, 1, same numbers. And negative 2 times negative 1 is 2, so the absolute value of 2 is 2, minus 2. 0, and if I put 1 in here, negative 2 times 1 is negative 2, the absolute value of negative 2 is 2, times the negative is negative 2. So there we go. See, this will always be positive, and so since it's preceded by a negative, the result will always be a negative. All right, so let's plot this. Put our points down. And my 0 is going to be at 3/2. So that's 1 1/2. So there's 1 1/2 and up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my new 0. All right? And then I'm going to go left 1 down 2, left 1 down 2, so that's right in the middle, and the right 1 down 2. And there's your key points, and then you connect those with your pencil, and you're done. You could always, if I'm going fast, you can always slow this down, pause it, rewind it, whatever. That's the nice thing about these. You have your option. And the slope is actually negative 2, so I can find another point that's, but it goes in the middle, so be careful there. Like that. So it's the A, and it's actually a little skinnier A than normal. And there you go, something like that. Okay. So again, you can take a look at that. Just pause it if these steps are a little bit vague, and there you go. Okay. That's all right.